Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. The Sutras of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra. When some desire comes, consider it, then suddenly quit it. When we take a certain category of sutras, there is much similarity, but human mind works differently. For instance, there is a wide range of smartphones available in the market. A particular brand appeals to one person while it does not appeal to the next person. Some are used to using one brand, others are used to and prefer using the other brand. In the same way, these techniques, like the basic purpose of a smartphone is to have the internet facility. You can have a memory storage. You can use it for various apps. You can use it as a phone, use it for sending and receiving the emails. It becomes like a data bank while you are on the move. That is why it is called mobile. Whereas your laptop or desktop is not mobile, but different brands work on a different mechanism, different principle. So some are used to this brand, others are used to the other brand. The same way these stop techniques are like different brands. One appeals to this one, next one appeals to the other. When some desire comes, consider it, then suddenly quit it. This is the next sutra. As long as man lives in the mind, desires continue to come like a stampede, and it becomes difficult for a person to adjust amidst the storm of these waves of desires. This is a different dimension. This sutra is a different dimension of the same technique. It says when a desire comes, what actually happens. When a desire comes, the mind immediately comes in and it says that this is not good. You should not enter into it. It is not right morally, or so on and so forth. What actually happens when a desire comes? Like I take my own example. I am running a business for my living. because unless I am able to make my living, I am not able to do other things. So my focus is straight and one, that the outlet that we have, I have to make it financially completely viable. What it is needed, a direct dealing between the consumer and understanding their demands, understanding the need of these products within the economy, and source them, provide them at a reasonable price, make them available. On the contrary, whenever my son will come in, he will say, "Dad, hear me out. I have some big plans." I said, "What are the big plans?" He will tell me that he wants to open more branches. Maybe we can give franchise. Maybe in other Caribbean islands. This is like desires stampeding the mind. I consider this, and I told him the first and the foremost importance is, this is a COVID period where there are many restrictions on the free movement of the people. The availability of products is not as frequent as it used to be before. So I told him, first and the foremost thing is that we have opened a store. We have to make sure that it becomes financially viable rather than remaining a liability. It has to start generating the profits so that those profits are accumulated and could be reinvested in some other areas. This is what is meant by consider. Your focus has to be straight on what you want to achieve in life and how to achieve. Then you can see what kind of desires are arising in mind, what kind of thoughts are coming to the mind. You consider all these and suddenly quit them. Every time when he comes, he will tell me this. But I listened to him. I said, "Can you run the business in my absence? Do you know what kind of merchandise is needed? Do you have made the connection with the suppliers to make those products available? Do you have the idea of the warehouse stocks? Do you know how to run the business financially within all the constraints?" All these are managements which are very important. Not even a single person who supplies us the merchandise comes and makes a noise that cannot say that his payment is not being made in time, whether it is local or overseas. People on their own wants to have dealings with me. This is the goodwill. So I told him, at the moment you are living on the goodwill of your father. But you have to develop your own goodwill before you go into the other directions. So this is how the mind stampedes, desire comes. I gave you one example. Similar examples you can have in your own life. But the resources are limited, times are difficult. You have to learn from an elephant. Elephant does not move its feet unless it is confident and sure that its next step is not going to create any problem. I recall when I was a little child, an infant, my grandfather, the Sufi mystic, Sufi Brij Mohan Lal, along with some of his disciples, went to those areas which are considered in Hindu scripture Ramayana, where it was said that Ram lived in the forest. It was dense forest where wild animals, and there is no facility. And then it was said that we have to come out of the forest before the sunset, because in the night the wild animals come out of their shells in search of prey. It happened that somehow the other, once we got stuck and it was quite almost the night started coming. We all were on elephant. So we were coming out of the elephant. The elephant man, the driver, was trying to goad the elephant to move forward, but elephant was not moving. It raised its trunk and started making noise. And each time when the elephant man tried to force him to move forward, elephant refused and raised his trunk and make noise. At this, the elephant man said, "It seems there is some danger in front, that's why the elephant is not moving." Some light arrangement was made, and it was when some people went along with the elephant man, it was observed that there was a deep trench, almost 60 feet, and the elephant was at one end, and probably it moved its next feet, and he found that when you are walking in the night and suddenly you realize that there is a rock in front or there is a slope, your movement has to be different. These are like impediments along the path. So if the elephant had moved, it would have fallen in that deep trench and everyone would have died. So elephant has a great sense of danger. So as a human being, we must be aware of it. If I listen to him, the number one, the reputation will go haywire. When you stretch your hands widely without making the wise decision, all kind of problem comes in. So this normally happens with us on a day-to-day basis. So sutra says, when some desire comes, these sutras are for inner development, for transformation. The essence of these can be used in outer dimension as well, because inner and outer are two sides of the same coin. If one side of the coin is defaced, it cannot work in the market. If one side of the currency note is faded, do you think you can use that currency as for transaction in the market? Will anyone accept it? Certainly not. So the inner and outer both need to be in perfect condition. My inner and outer, your inner and outer is not separate from one another. These are the two sides of the same coin. If my job that I am doing, I do the job not as a government job, is a private, the entrepreneur. So it has to be that when I sit down in my office, there is no disturbance of any kind. Then I can sit down, talk to the people when the time arises or need arises. So inner and outer are not separate from one another. In order to live in the world, you need the outer dimension, but for live beyond, for transformation, for inner development, you need the inner dimension. So both are connected with one another like the two sides of the same coin. So when some desire comes, consider it, then suddenly quit it. Sometimes just as the mind and the body are connected to one another, whatever happens to the mind affects the body, and whatever happens to the body affects the mind. In the same way, the inner and the outer dimension stay together. Any obstruction or hurdle in the outer dimension affects the inner, and any disturbance in the inner dimension affects the outer dimension. If there is someone sick in the family, then you will not be able to perform as efficiently as you would like to in the outer dimension, in your work or anything else. So with this as a prelude, I go into the sutra. When some desire comes, consider it, give it a proper consideration within all the constraints. Like for instance, if you want to do a business expansion, there is a board of directors. One of these is chosen as a managing director. Then the next is chosen as a secretary, the purchasing manager, the financial controller can be chosen from outside the directorship. These are the different stakeholders. All of them have to come to one unitary decision before it can be effective. So this is what means consider it from all angles. For example, there is a desire, a sexual desire arises. What are the considerations? The period is very difficult. Suppose the person that you want to enter into sex may be infected with some disease, or all these things you have to consider, and things related in that field. You feel a desire for sex, a desire for love, desire for food or anything, all are come in one category, desire. You feel a desire, consider it from all angles, look into its different perspectives. When the sutra says consider it, it means there is no need of thinking for or against that. Let's say the desire for food arises. There is no thought to come to the mind. You do not have to bring thinking into the process that eating outside is not good, this or that and all that. Arguments in favor or against it. Just consider the desire, what it is. Why are you eating outside in a restaurant? Because one thing is that you may eat outside because you are hungry you did not get a chance to prepare the meals at home, so you want to take something outside, or it is you are working late, so you decide to take meals outside. The other is you are having a party, you invite your friends and you go to the restaurant, you order all different types of foods. Some people are they have no other choice but they are food bloggers. They go from restaurant to restaurant. They give you insights about the food, and they are like advertisers. So what it is, why do you want to eat outside? You consider it what it is. If it is there that you did not get a chance to prepare the meals, so you decide to go to a nearby restaurant. So again, depending on your lifestyle, you go to a particular restaurant. An American will go, let me go and buy a burger or sandwich and a coffee or a Coke, or take a donut and finish the meals. My choice is different. The food has to be balanced, number one. So we take one protein diet, being vegetarian. Then accordingly, consider your desire, what it is, and then Decide. There is no. Now, normally, what happens when you are going to a restaurant? We spend nearly a good bit of time in studying the menu, which item to order or not, because the purpose is different. My purpose is just to have dinner, so I have a particular choice. So sometimes even before reaching to the restaurant, I'll call and tell them that I am reaching in 20 minutes time, prepare these things for me. And sometimes the person says, you come and we have some new items. I said, no, forget about all those. Just prepare these items and I am reaching there in 30 minutes, because my purpose of going to a restaurant is totally different. Now with this, it will become easier for you to understand. A sexual desire comes to the mind based on your conditioning, based on your upbringing. You may say this is bad. This is not what the sutra means by consideration. Consider it. You have been taught this is good, this is bad. But so because of that preconditioning, because of your upbringing, you are not considering this desire. You are consulting the scriptures, you are consulting the past, you are the past teachers, the saints, so on and so forth. You are not considering the desire itself, you are considering something else. You are considering many things, your conditionings, your upbringings, your education, your culture, your civilization, your religion, but not the desire. Isn't it so? The simple desire has come. Do not bring the mind into it. The education, the upbringing, the civilization, the consideration. Do not bring in the values. So, normally when I go with someone, with the family for dinner, they are waiting, considering, studying the menu, what to order and this. So I said, you go ahead and do that. I place my order right away. And sometimes I am almost finished and they are still considering which items to order and which not. When you go, what you need for your daily diet: a flat bread or rice, a salad to go with it, a vegetable, and a legume or dal or any kind of protein. So you take any dish made out of Indian cottage cheese. Simple. So there is nothing wrong in it. No philosophy, no religion, nothing has come into it. I am hungry. I need to order the food and eat and forget about the rest. I do not even have to look at the menu. So this simple desire has come. Do not bring your mind, your past, your education, your conditioning. Do not bring any values. Just consider the desire what it is. If your mind could be washed completely of all that has been given to you by the society, by your parents, the education, the culture, if your total mind can be washed out, the desire for sex will arise. It will arise because desire is not given to you by society. The desire has come because of the biological reasons. A desire will be biologically built. My desire for food is biologically built. It is in you. For example, a child is born and no language is taught. The child will not learn the language. He will remain without language. The language is a social phenomenon. It has to be taught to continue the dialogue, continue the conversation. In order to live into the world, you need the language. But when the right moment comes, the child will feel the sexual desire. That is not a social phenomenon. Instead, it is a biological built up in it. The desire will come at the right moment. It is not social. It is a biological desire. Deeper, it is built in your cells and it has come because of your biology. Because you were born out of sex, every cell of your body is a sex cell. You consider sex cells. Unless your biology can be washed out completely, the desire will be there. It will come. It is already there. When a child is born, the desire is already there because the child is the byproduct of sexual communion, sexual meeting. He comes through sex. His whole body is formed with the interaction between ovum and sperm. And ovum and sperm are sex cells. The desire is there. Only time is needed for desire to mature, his body to become mature enough to feel the desire, to enact that desire. The desire will be there whether you are taught that sex is good or bad, whether you are not taught that sex is hell or heaven, doesn't matter. Because both are teachings. The old tradition, the old religion, Christianity, particularly they go on preaching that sex is bad and their old teachings are against sex. The new movement of modern day people, they have started the opposite movement. To them, sex is good, it is ecstatic, is the only real thing in the world. There are the two teachings, the Christian teachings and the teachings of the modern day hippies and all these people. Do not consider your desire according to some teaching, according to some culture or anything. Just consider the desire in its purity as it is a fact. The desire has arisen in you. Do not interpret it. Consideration here means no interpretation, just looking at the fact as it is. The desire is there. Look at it directly. Immediately do not bring in your thoughts or ideas because no thought is yours. No thought is yours, no idea is yours. Everything has been given to you. Every idea is borrowed. No thought is original, and no thought can be original. Do not bring in thinking. Just look at the desire, what it is. And if you do not know anything about it, face it. And that is what is meant by consider it. So consideration does not mean interpretation. The sutra says when a desire comes in, consider it, just look at the fact what it is. Unfortunately, it is one of the most difficult things to do. Compared to this, reaching to the moon is not so difficult, or reaching to the peak of the mountain is not so difficult. It is highly complicated. Reaching to the moon is not highly complicated, infinitely complicated, a very complex phenomena. But compared to living with the fact of inner mind, it is nothing. Because the mind is subtly involved in everything you do. It is always there. Look at the word. If I say sex, the moment this word is uttered, you have decided for or against it. The moment I say sex, you have interpreted it. It is good, it is bad, or something else. Like this it goes on. When Osho started speaking on from sex to superconsciousness, and his book was published, from the fundamentalists there was a great resistance. People have not read the book, but they read this title and got stuck in the title because they have one idea about sex, another idea of superconsciousness, how to put the two ideas together. They know about the outer dimension, they know about the inner dimension. How to blend the two together, it was not possible. We will continue in tomorrow's session. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day.